Right now, while you are reading this, something is quietly changing across the United States that could directly affect your ability to drive, your finances, and your daily independence. And the most alarming part is not what is changing. It is how fast it is happening and how little warning most drivers are getting. If you are over 65, this affects you immediately and personally. But even if you are younger, do not click away because two of these three changes apply to every single driver on American roads, regardless of age. One of them may have already triggered consequences against you without you even knowing it yet. That is not an exaggeration. That is exactly how the new system is designed to work. By the time most people find out something went wrong, the penalty has already been issued, the flag has already been placed on their record, and the damage has already begun. Stay with me for the next few minutes because everything you are about to hear is real. It is already in motion, and knowing it today could save you hundreds of dollars, protect your driving privileges, and keep your life running exactly the way you want it to. Welcome to US Visa Info, the channel dedicated to keeping you informed, protected, and ahead of the rules that shape your life in this country. Whether you are a longtime resident, a new arrival, or a citizen navigating an increasingly complex system, this is your space for clear, honest, and practical information. If you have not subscribed yet, do it right now because the kind of update we are covering today is exactly why this channel exists. Today, we are breaking down 3 driving rule changes that are already active across multiple states in 2026. We are going to cover what each rule actually means, why states are implementing them, who is most affected, and most importantly, what you need to do right now to make sure none of these changes catch you off guard. Let us get into it. To understand why these 3 changes matter so much, you first need to understand the bigger shift that is happening underneath all of them. For decades, driving law enforcement in the United States relied heavily on human interaction. If your insurance lapsed, someone had to pull you over to find out. If your vision had deteriorated, the DMV only found out if you mentioned it or failed a test you knew was coming. If you glanced at your phone at a red light, an officer had to physically witness it. The entire system was built around reactive enforcement. Something had to happen first before consequences followed. That era is ending, and it is ending quickly. State DMVs and transportation departments across the country are now moving toward automated, real-time, technology-driven enforcement. Databases update the moment something changes. Systems flag violations without any human being having to witness them. Penalties are triggered automatically and instantly. The result is a driving environment where the margin for error has shrunk dramatically and where the assumption that things will work the same way they always have is now one of the most dangerous assumptions a driver can make. This shift is being rolled out quietly. It does not announce itself with major press conferences or bold headlines in your local newspaper. It happens gradually, starting in one state, then spreading to another, then becoming standard practice before most people even realize it began. And the drivers who get hurt the most are not reckless drivers or habitual rule breakers. They are careful, experienced, law-abiding people who simply assume the system still operated the way it did 5 or 10 years ago. That assumption is what these new rules are specifically designed to challenge. Now, let us talk about each of the 3 changes in detail, starting with the one that is hitting older drivers the hardest right now. The first change involves mandatory vision testing for drivers aged 65 and older at the time of license renewal. For years, renewing a driver's license in most states was a low-effort process. A renewal notice arrived in the mail. You paid the fee online or sent in a form and you received your updated license without ever leaving your house. For drivers over 65, that process has now fundamentally changed in a growing number of states. If you fall into this age group and your renewal is coming up, you may find that you are no longer eligible to renew online or by mail. Instead, you may be required to appear in person at a DMV office and complete a vision screening before your license is approved. And here is the part that catches people completely off guard. In many cases, drivers only discover this when they attempt to renew online, and the system simply tells them they are not eligible to complete the process digitally. No explanation, no warning letter, just a sudden block that forces them to come in person, often when they had no time budgeted for it and no preparation done. The reasoning behind this change comes from road safety research. As we age, Vision changes can occur gradually and in ways that are easy to miss or unconsciously compensate for. Conditions like cataracts, glaucoma, macular degeneration, and reduced contrast sensitivity develop over time and can significantly affect a driver's ability to see clearly at night, judge distances accurately, or maintain adequate peripheral awareness. The DMV has concluded that self-reporting is simply no longer a reliable enough standard. Having older drivers confirm in person that their vision still meets the legal requirement for safe driving is, from a policy standpoint, a reasonable response to accident data involving age-related vision decline. But understanding the reasoning does not make the experience any less stressful when you are the driver standing at the counter. Picture this. You have been driving safely for 40 or 50 years. Your record is clean. You feel completely capable behind the wheel. You walk into the DMV expecting a routine renewal that takes 10 minutes, and then you are handed a vision chart and asked to read lines you have not looked at in years. If your eyesight has quietly declined without you fully realizing it, that moment can feel shocking and humiliating. What happens next depends on the result. In most cases, a vision issue does not lead to an immediate and permanent loss of your license. More commonly, it leads to a conditional license with specific restrictions. You may be required to wear corrective lenses while driving. You may be limited to daytime driving only if night vision is the specific concern. You may be referred to an eye specialist for a follow-up evaluation to determine whether your vision can be corrected to meet the required standard. A full license suspension or cancellation only occurs in cases where the vision impairment is severe enough that no reasonable correction can bring it up to the legal minimum. That is a much rarer outcome than most people fear. The practical lesson here is straightforward. If you are 65 or older and your license renewal is within the next 12 months, schedule a comprehensive eye exam with your optometrist before the DMV ever asks you to. Make sure your prescription is current and that your glasses or contact lenses, if you wear them, are giving you the best possible vision correction. If you have a known eye condition, have an honest conversation with your doctor specifically about your driving and what the DMV vision standard requires. Walking into your renewal appointment knowing exactly where you stand puts you in control of the situation. Walking in unprepared puts the outcome entirely in the hands of a chart and a clock. The second change affects every driver in the country regardless of age, and it is already triggering automatic penalties for people who do not even know they are in violation. This change involves how car insurance coverage is now verified by state DMV systems. Under the old approach, insurance enforcement was largely reactive and event-driven. You were pulled over and asked to show proof. You were in an accident and your coverage was checked at that point. If your insurance quietly lapsed between events, the DMV had no immediate way of knowing. That gap no longer exists in a growing number of states. Insurance companies are now required to report policy status electronically and on a continuous basis directly to state DMV databases. The moment your policy expires, is canceled or lapses for any reason. That information is transmitted to the system almost instantaneously. There is no waiting period. There is no grace window. There is no human being reviewing the circumstances and asking why it happened. The system sees one thing and one thing only. Your vehicle is either insured or it is not. When the system records a lapse, the consequences can begin immediately and without any police involvement whatsoever. Depending on your state, an uninsured lapse can automatically trigger a registration suspension, financial penalties ranging from $100 to several hundred, and in repeated or extended cases, even a driver's license suspension. You could be sitting at home not having driven anywhere, and your registration could already be suspended because your insurance payment failed 3 days ago due to an expired credit card. By the time a notice arrives in your mailbox, the system has already acted. Reinstating everything at that point involves fees, paperwork, and delays that can take days or even weeks to fully resolve. What makes this so dangerous for careful, responsible drivers is how easily an unintentional lapse can occur. A payment method expires, and autopay fails. You switch insurance providers and assume the start date of the new policy overlaps cleanly with the end date of the old one. But there is a one-day gap. A bank processes a payment late. None of these situations involve recklessness. All of them can trigger the automated enforcement system just as quickly as if you had deliberately driven without coverage. The system does not evaluate intent. It only evaluates status. This means that managing your insurance now requires active, ongoing attention rather than a set it and forget it approach. Set up automatic payments, yes, but also check regularly that your payment method is current and that your policy is showing as active. When you switch providers, confirm the exact start and end dates and leave nothing to assumption. After any renewal or change, log into your insurance account and verify your coverage status directly. These are small habits that take minutes, but can prevent consequences that take weeks to fix. The third change is the one generating the most confusion and frustration among drivers who genuinely consider themselves responsible and careful. This change involves distracted driving laws. And what has shifted is not just the penalties, but the definition of what counts as distracted driving, and the technology being used to enforce it. For most drivers, distracted driving meant one thing for a long time: texting while the vehicle was in motion. If you were not typing a message at highway speed, you likely felt you were operating within the law. That understanding is now dangerously outdated. Multiple states have significantly expanded their distracted driving statutes to cover a much broader range of phone-related behaviors. Under the new definitions, distracted driving can include looking at your phone screen, scrolling through a music playlist, checking an incoming notification, adjusting your GPS route, or even picking up your phone to see who is calling, including while your vehicle is stopped at a red light. In some jurisdictions in certain states, the law applies as long as your engine is running, regardless of whether you are moving. The fines attached to these violations have increased substantially. A first offense that previously resulted in a modest fine can now cost several hundred in place points on your driving record. A second offense within a short period can escalate to license suspension, mandatory driver safety courses, and insurance rate increases that can follow you for years and cost far more in the long run than the original fine. But the part that is changing the experience most dramatically for everyday drivers is the technology now being used to detect violations. Law enforcement agencies in multiple states have deployed or are deploying advanced camera and sensor systems mounted on patrol vehicles or installed along roadsides that use artificial intelligence to identify distracted driving behavior in real time. These systems can detect when a driver's eyes move downward, when a phone is held near the face, or when hand movements suggest device interaction. When the system identifies a likely violation, it can alert a nearby officer immediately or capture the evidence for later review. In some jurisdictions, this enforcement is moving toward full automation, similar to speed cameras and red light cameras, meaning a citation can arrive in your mail weeks after an incident you may not even remember. The important thing to understand about this technology is that it records behavior, not intent. It cannot know that you glanced at your phone for half a second to confirm you had not missed an important call from your doctor. It cannot know that you were adjusting your GPS because traffic forced an unexpected detour. It records what it sees, and what it sees is enough. The only reliable protection in this environment is complete elimination of phone interaction while driving. Place your phone in your bag, your glove compartment, or the back seat before you start the engine. Set your navigation before you begin driving, and do not touch it again unless you are fully pulled over. If a call or message genuinely cannot wait, find a safe place to stop. Hands-free systems offer some protection, but the laws around them vary by state, and even hands-free use can be interpreted as distraction in certain circumstances. When it comes to this rule, the safest approach is also the simplest. If you are driving, your phone does not exist. When you look at all three of these changes together, mandatory vision testing, real-time insurance monitoring, and expanded distracted driving enforcement, what you see is a single unified philosophy driving all of them. The American driving system is moving away from trusting drivers to report and correct their own issues, and toward continuous technology-driven verification of compliance. The era of occasional checks and reactive enforcement is being replaced by a system that monitors constantly and acts automatically. This is not going to reverse. It is going to expand. States that have implemented these changes are seeing results, and states that have not yet adopted them are watching and planning to follow. The drivers who will navigate this new environment successfully are not necessarily the most experienced or the most skilled. They are the ones who stay informed, who build proactive habits, and who treat compliance as an ongoing practice rather than a box to check every few years. This is US Visa Info, and our commitment is always the same: give you the information you need before it becomes a problem you have to solve. If today's video helped you understand what is changing on American roads and what you need to do to stay protected, please give it a thumbs up. It helps us reach more people who need this information just as much as you did before you watched. Share this video with someone you care about, especially anyone over 65, who may not yet know about the vision testing requirement, or anyone who has been managing their insurance on autopilot for years. Subscribe to US Visa Info and turn on notifications so you never miss a critical update like this one. We cover the rules, the changes, and the details that directly affect your daily life in the United States. Until next time, drive safely, stay informed, and stay protected.